Started. Take it away, Joe.
Thank you very much. Well, welcome back, Ella. It's lovely to see
Hello.
you.
It feels very familiar. I feel like I need to be taking notes, but I'm meant to be doing something. So
Yeah, you're on the opposite side of things now, so
yeah,
it's us taking notes. But no, welcome back. This is cohort 13, so quite a few down the line
yeah,
from you were in cohort 6, weren't you? So
yeah.
quite a while ago now. And hello everyone in cohort 13. I feel like I've not really spent a lot of time with you guys yet, so it's nice to see you all. Ella, would you like to start off sort of introducing yourself, a little bit about what it is that you're doing right now?
Yeah. So hello, cohort 13. Thank you for being here. I know you have to be here, but it feels like you came here specifically for me, so I appreciate that. So my name's Ella. I was on cohort 6, like Joanna said, and I'm currently working for the Benedetti Foundation, which is a music education charity founded by Nicola Benedetti, and I'm their social media manager, or social media officer is my official title. But yeah, day to day, it does what it says on the tin. I'm making posts, I'm scheduling, but I'm also kind of leaning into a little like brand management at the moment, as there's a lot of change going on at the foundation at the moment. The director is stepping down, so there's a lot of change going on. So it's one of those times that we're all putting our heads together. And with me, I'll get into it a bit. I have a lot of experience in different things, so it's kind of where I thrive. But yeah, mostly I just spend a lot of time on the internet. So I spend a lot of time on the internet.
Gosh, don't we all? It's weird.
It's terrible. My screen time.
Well, we won't talk about screen time. Fabulous. Can you tell us a little bit about how you've gotten to where you are now? So you've mentioned there that you've got a lot of experience doing different things. It'd be great to know sort of what those things are and how maybe you've leveraged that into your new role. Sort of give us that like career journey, if you like.
Yeah. Okay. So I was gonna do a little like silly presentation so that you could all see my little journey, but it would have been too much stuff and we would have been here for like 6 hours. So um anyone who's in this cohort who's kind of thinking like, oh, I've had a bit of a zigzag career, but insecure about that, if you're a job changer, this should hopefully make you feel a bit better. Um, if we start from like way back in the day, my first ever job was I was a lifeguard, which I think most people don't expect to be your first job. Like I've never worked in hospitality. It was like a very interesting experience to have. I learned a lot of teamwork doing that, as you would, and I think those skills kind of carried me on a bit further. So from then, I studied music at college, and my university degree is in commercial music. It's not adverts. It's not adverts. It's not music for adverts. Kind of. It basically commercial music. We did like performance, we did production, but we also did music business, and kind of what that looks like. So in our second year, we ended up going on tour. We had to plan everything. So we did, the budgeting, we did kind of the route planning, but we also did the marketing, and obviously like our brand identity. And that's somewhere that I just really enjoyed that part of it. And I didn't really know what music marketing was back then, but it's just kind of, I just liked making us look good and, putting things on social media and, working out how we interact with people. My band was called the Floral Wham Tram. So it's an anagram for marshmallow fart. I can't explain it. I was at uni. Um, so along with that, I was like, oh, we should always wear flowers. We should do this. We should do that. And everyone was like, yeah, this is great. And we kind of got a little name for ourselves in those few years. Being in that band. So from then, straight after uni, I went into door-to-door sales. So if anyone doesn't know what that is, it is what it sounds like, but I would be the annoying person that knocks on your door and asks you to donate to charity, which is like a good thing, but it was very, very hard and it was full commission. So I think I got a lot of work ethic from that, because I had rent to pay. And I enjoyed it to a point, but it wasn't like where my passion lied. It was a very quick thing to get, after uni. And I think I gained a lot of people skills from there. So from that, I went to gym marketing. So I went into sales at a gym, and it was literally just selling memberships, trying to get people to sign up. And you see where the thread is. It's like I started in charity, went to the gym, but I had this constant thread of marketing throughout. And then I think that experience really taught me marketing isn't always how people think it is. It's like behind the scenes, there's a lot going on. I will say this now, I think most things on social media are fake. So I think that was my first inkling into like, oh, there are things that people do to try and sell. So that was kind of the main thing I picked up from there. Then I left because again, it wasn't what my heart wanted me to do. And I forgot to mention, but throughout uni, I kind of did, I used to work for the Pauline Quirk Academy. So that was very much drama, music. I was doing musical theatre, tutoring basically. So I was choreographing for kids. I was kind of choosing songs that they should do for their like final exams and stuff like that. So yeah, music and marketing were things that I would always do kind of, yeah, throughout. After that, I so yeah, after that, I kind of felt like I'm very creative. I have ADHD, so my brain's always going through different things, doing like different ideas, and I wanted to start a business. So I started writing up a business plan for a small business that I idea that I had, which was a parenting merchandise business. So at my second year at uni, I found out I was 4.5 months pregnant, and I had no idea. So we went on tour while I was pregnant. I did my third year. My son was born in October. I carried on, did my degree, graduated, all that kind of stuff. But I think from that, that transition between being a student, being a parent, I realized there was like a big mental health aspect that I wasn't planning on, not planning, but I wasn't anticipating. And as someone who had, their child really early with regards to my friend group, I was really looking for that community. So I was like, well, how do I do this? And, keep my time flexible. How do I make money? So I started drawing up the idea for a parenting merch business. It then kind of twisted into self-care merch. The idea was I wanted to negate decision fatigue for people. So I wanted the whole range was always black, white, or gray. So everything could be worn with each other. And I would write phrases on the tops upside down, and they were words of encouragement, so that it was for the wearer and it wasn't for the world. So it was like things like, you don't have time to hate yourself today, or you're doing a good job, just simple things like that. So if you are feeling down, you've got this phrase that is for you. So I ran that for about 2-3 years into COVID, which was super fun at the time. It was quite hard trying to do that in COVID. So eventually I closed the business, or I just kind of slowed it down. And then I went into an insight and engagement agency, which again is like a kind of periphery of marketing. So for those of you who don't know what an insight and engagement agency is, I didn't know what it was until I joined one. We basically were like the middleman between big companies and consumers. In this case, the consumers were specifically Gen Z and millennials, or the largest generation in human history. And we would kind of do focus groups, like much like what you do every day at the moment, well, first 2 days. And we would kind of get their opinions on things. So it's almost like, just trying to get their opinions on maybe concepts more so than products. So it would be like we did a project with the Cohort Foundation, and that was very much like, what does Gen Z see the future looking like in the ideal world, with regards to the environment, with regards to diversity, with regards to working, what does it look like? And we gathered all that information. We talked to about 150 young people, and put it all in a report, gave it to the Cohort Foundation so that they could then give it to funders to be like, this is what they want, and we want to help them do that. So that was really, really fun. I really enjoyed the aspect of being able to talk to people a lot. And that was only kind of one part of the job, but I really, really enjoyed, setting up the sessions, seeing what people like, seeing what people interact with and what they're interested in. And that from that job, I realized that we didn't have a social media presence in the way that I think we should, because we were working with young people. So I suggested that we lean into our TikTok a lot because we weren't posting on there. I suggested that we kind of do different things on social media. And I worked with the marketing manager to put that together because that wasn't actually in my job description. I just like giving myself extra work. So once we kind of like divvied that up and we thought about what should be in our strategy, we then brought an intern on. So I was like helping them out and while I was doing my other work. And yeah, it ended up kind of working out quite well. I then got my contract terminated. Most of the company got there was only like 15 of us tops at any given time. So yeah, half of us got our contracts terminated. And then the month after, the rest of the company got their contracts terminated as well. So that kind of gave me a bit like, what do I do? Because I did everything I was supposed to do on paper. We get a job, it was full-time. I was saving, I was doing this, permanent contract, everything you're supposed to do. And then it was just taken from me. So I was like, right, what do I do now? Now I realized at that point that I, had interest in social media. I'd had so many jobs, I realized I skipped one. I used to work at a youth magazine online, and that was a content creator role. So I was writing blogs and I was editing videos and that kind of stuff. And one of my best pieces, I guess, was accounted for like 12% of the website's traffic after I left. So that was quite, I liked content creation. I liked working in social media. And, I liked trying to convey a message to somebody. And again, I realized that, music was always a thread. Like I do music on the side. I DJ as well. So it's something that I've always just had an affinity with. So in that gap of time while I was applying for, it felt like a million jobs. I was like, well, what can I do? What can I actually do? And I was like, I know I'm good at social media. I know I'm good at music. I'm going to do music marketing on my own. So I started kind of putting things together to, work out what a social media manager in a freelance capacity, what that looks like. And I also stumbled across Basecamp. And ironically, I happened to get onto Basecamp and I happened to get in contact with a music marketing agency around the same time. So I started my music marketing job and Basecamp at literally the same month, which I wasn't expecting. I was like, I can put all my energy into this and get my portfolio sorted out by the end of Basecamp and, then go into music marketing. But I was doing them both simultaneously, which was very helpful, but also a baptism of fire in some regards. But, Basecamp really, really helped me consolidate a lot of my skills. And I managed to bring other things to my music marketing job because I was brought on kind of like as a slightly junior because I hadn't worked in that specific field before. That one was I ended up doing the social media for the agency itself. And then I was brought on to higher profile accounts. So I was working for DJs, musicians, and a nightclub in Ibiza. I didn't get to go. I nearly went. I nearly went. But it was, it was kind of the baptism of fire that I wanted. It was, I was thrown into the fast life. Like one of my clients was in like Shanghai at one point, so I'd had to do meetings quite late. But one of my other clients was recording an album, so we got to go to the studio and like record things. And that's when I really, really, I think learned and honed my skills for social media management and just like what goes into it, especially as someone who does it independently for the most part. Um, there's a lot involved. Like I know that you're doing graphic design this week, I believe. Like there's a lot, I was kind of doing that stuff before with regards to like making my merch and all that kind of stuff. But when you come from it, when you have to sit and think, okay, what does the client need? What does this person need? Rather than like, what do I like? That's when I think those skills get honed and you could get quicker and understand the industry slightly more. So from that, I was realizing that I was working quite a lot. The music industry is something I love, but it is tiring. So I took a step back from like the Ibiza clubs and DJs and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, okay, what is something that I can bring fresh eyes to? And a friend of mine who also did Basecamp was like, have you seen this job? And it was for the Benedetti Foundation. And I was like, oh, I'll try it. Because I used to sing in a choir when I was younger. But my knowledge of classical music is my parents made me listen to Classic FM in the car when I was like 10. So I thought, hey, all they can say is no. And they didn't say no. They said no to apparently 400 other people and selected me. And I'm really enjoying it. And it's really refreshing being able to bring what I know of like contemporary music and DJing and, pop music to the world of classical music, because it's not really that different. It's just trying to hone what it looks like to be, a classical space in the world of TikTok and in the world of like young people. But yeah, that was so long, very zigzag, like I said.
That's so interesting. I've got so many questions about that. I've got so many questions I want to ask about, but I'm gonna open it up to the learners. So if anyone has any questions for Ella regarding her sort of career journey, just things like, how you navigated being a mum amongst such a busy town, that's so crazy to me. Like hats off to you.
Thank
And
you.
that and how like you've had such a zigzag career, but actually the running theme there has been marketing, but for you it's almost been like, okay, well, going back to what it is that you really enjoy, which was music and things like that, and how broad those industries are
Mm-hmm.
and how much you can explore it. I think that's really, it's just saying yes to different opportunities, isn't it? And recognizing what it is that you actually enjoy. Anyway, I'm going off on one. Yeah. Are there any hands up? I don't know if I'm missing any at all. Any hands up?
I'm just gonna have a look at the chat. I don't think there's any questions just yet.
Okay. We have Nick. Go for it.
Sorry, I'm Kate, not Nick. I keep forgetting to change my my husband is Nick and this is his Zoom account apparently.
Oh. So I'm on Dan's, who's obviously left now. I used to be on Dan's account a lot, so people probably thought anyway, carry
on. I I'm in and ahhing whether to say something because it's kind of scary in front of, there's like 40 people in this Zoom. But I can really relate to both your career background in terms of doing loads and loads of random different stuff. I worked at Subway at one point. I've worked for a car rental company. I've done like after school care, childcare, worked in like learning difficulties, and I started getting into teaching. So and now I've gone completely, the career jump into marketing. So it's like a bit crazy when you feel like you're alongside people who've been in one kind of stream or one kind of like obvious career path, and you're the same age and you don't have the same kind of like, you feel like you don't have the same kind of opportunities or earning potential because you don't know what you're doing. So it's really encouraging to hear that. I'm also a young mum because I had my first child when I was 25 and I've now got 3 under 5 years. So I can relate to trying to work alongside of mum life is a little bit crazy and insane sometimes. So yeah, it's really encouraging to meet somebody who has also got that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, I
Thanks.
think, oh, don't worry, thank you. That's actually really encouraging to hear as well, because I think, especially being a parent, sometimes it can feel like you're just kind of meandering in this little baby bubble. And yeah, the progression thing, I struggled with that a few times as well, because I feel like I'm trying to make myself look better than I am, but I think a lot of people perceive me as younger. I don't usually say my age because it usually gets you in places when people do think that you're younger. But like, I worked in TV for a little bit, which I forgot to say. And the people who were my line managers, that kind of stuff, were all pretty much my age or just a bit older. And it felt quite daunting to have near to no experience in a space. But I think one thing that keeps me relatively grounded in it is, like, one, I was picked for this role for a reason. Two, it actually doesn't matter what everyone else is doing, because one thing that a lot of my friends say to me is, you know, everybody's getting married, everyone's buying houses, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, like you were saying, my story is so, there's a lot going on. And the fact that I managed to sustain that, and, you know, I haven't imploded, that's enough in itself. And I think, you know, not all of you might be parents, not all of you want to be parents, all that kind of stuff, but everyone's got their own journey. And I think as long as you just sit with it, and, like, in the hard times, it should just be like, I'm actually okay, like, I'm actually fine. It will ground you slightly more, because, you know, you don't know, the director of the company might be like, I can't do this, I'm overwhelmed, I don't belong here. And that's also fine. Everybody's a person. And I think once you start talking to people more and kind of interacting with people more, it becomes a bit like, who cares? I know it sounds bad, but it's like, kind of, it's, you know, we're here for a short time, it's all good. That's how I kind of get through it for the most part.
Amazing. We've got a couple of questions in the chat. Catherine has asked, what did you get out of the Basecamp course, and what were the highlights for you in terms of your learning curve?
So I'll say the main thing I got out of it is honestly quite a nice community. I actually, after Basecamp, met up with someone who was living in London but has a lot of family in Birmingham, which is where I'm based at the moment. And we spoke in one breakout room, I think. I can't remember which week it was, but we just had like a little conversation. And I talk all the time, so I didn't think much of it. And afterwards, she sent me a message and was just like, hey, I'm in Birmingham, do you want to meet up? And I was like, yeah. And from that point, we met up every week, and we actually worked on things that we were kind of trying to develop and grow. So we were looking at like our business plans, or looking at like graphic design things that we were doing, and we would just talk. And that's something I really appreciated. Like, she came to my birthday, which was like a few weeks ago, and I would have never met her. Like, we might have got on if we had met, but we were in different cities. Like, there was no other place that I could have met her. And yeah, and it was literally from Basecamp. And it's just so nice that we get on like a personal level, but it's also that it's lovely that we can, you know, talk about work and talk about things we want to develop. And there's like an underlying understanding of what we're trying to do, and you know, how we want to help. In fact, she was the person who sent me the job, and in the same week she got a job for another like orchestra classical music place, and it just happened that it just fell into place, and it was really, really great. So yeah, that community aspect, like, don't lose that, because you know, I'll be on LinkedIn, there's people who will connect with me from cohorts that I haven't been part of, and I'm just like, yeah, fine, let's all hang out, like, it's it's good. And I think, even though, you know, sometimes in breakout rooms it's hard to talk to people, I'll just be like, if you see people that you feel like you would vibe with, or, you know, understand, like, make the effort to like talk to them, because I feel this is a very special environment. Like, this doesn't happen a lot. because especially after COVID, like everyone's so isolated. Like I work from home, like really lean into the community that you have here, because yeah, it's a good one. So that's one of the main takeaways I had. Also, my favorite week with regards to like upskilling and that kind of stuff, it was the graphic design week. And I'm not just saying that because it's the graphic design week. I'm quite a creative person. Like I did textiles at school, and you know, I like buying things that look nice, unfortunately. But I think, yeah, the weeks that you have, especially if because I'm not a graphic designer, I just have an interest in it. So it's really nice to have the validation that whatever you're interested in, whether it's, you know, PPC, which was a terrifying week for me, but you know, when you have someone who's there to help you and to kind of encourage that little spark that you have in one of those areas, it kind of makes you feel like you can take over the world. There is a learning curve with regards to kind of feeling out of your depth when you see people who are really, really good at it. But I think just, you know, keep the fun in it, and like, yeah, just enjoy it, because yeah, this was my favorite week. And you know, seeing it all come together when you put your projects together, I think that was like the highlight for me, just seeing like all the work that I did in one place.
My God, you can make me emotional, Ella. That's such
I'm
a
so
lovely,
sorry, I don't know what's happening.
that's such a lovely story. I'm so pleased to hear that you really connected with someone from Basecamp, like, you know, so specifically, and that relationship is, well, you know, it brought opportunities, but you've made a friend. Oh, that's what it's like. Basecamp network is so fantastic, and like there's so many stories of Basecampers from previous cohorts that have launched their own businesses that have been hired from Basecamp, or like there's loads of stories of that happening. Like the alumni, which we'll talk to you guys more about when you come towards your graduation. There's over 400 Basecampers in there now. People are always sharing like roles that they find, even when they're already in a role, they're still helping the Basecamp network out by sharing roles that they find. Or I know the Bendetti were hiring recently, so we shared that in there as well. And it's just lovely. It's so great. I just love it. There's some really nice comments actually in the chat for you. Emma has said, just wanted to say a huge congratulations on all your achievements. Marie said, amazing story and achievements, Ella. It's inspiring to hear about your squiggly career combined with parenthood. Catherine's also said, everybody's journey is different. It sounds like you've been given lots of opportunities that have shaped you in your career along the way. It sounds amazing. We do have a hand up. Fayez, you got your hand up?
Yeah, sorry. I just was wondering to what extent, if at all, but I imagine to some degree this would be true, your expertise in this area has facilitated your work as a musical artist.
Yeah, do you know what's quite interesting is that what I'm finding is that the more I find out about social media, it's not that I dislike it, it's just that for me, I'm like, I can't be bothered, because I put so much effort into like my clients' social medias. It's almost like, for me, I know what to do, but I almost don't do it. But what it does really help with is like branding. That's one thing I will never lose my love for. So especially when I started DJing, I was like, okay, what do I like DJing? It's mostly garage music. What do I associate with that? Like 90s, R&B, that kind of stuff. And I'm also an avid gamer. I love gaming. So I was like, okay, so when people think of me, what do I want them to think of? I want them to think of fun. I want them to think of, you know, garage. I want them to think of gaming. There's also a joke that we have at my work is that my favorite color is cow print. I have a lot of cow print everywhere. And I feel like my love for branding specifically comes from my love for understanding people. I'm one of those people that I might ask you your star sign, not because I necessarily believe it, because you will tell me why it's right or wrong. And then I know more about you. I love apology languages. I love, you know, what's the other one? Love languages, that kind of stuff. And I think my main love for it comes from like understanding people. And I think that with regards to doing like music myself, I think what I've also learned is what I've also learned is that even though there's a sea of people posting every day, 3 times a day, that kind of stuff, I think as long as you can get your personality and like what makes you you through like just the one post that you do, that works. I think it works as long as you are true to yourself and enjoy what you do. I feel like I didn't answer your question. This is the neurodiversity coming out.
No, you did, like, especially in regards to branding. I mean, I've been thinking about that. Obviously, there's this project, but I'm thinking about the other stuff I do.
Mm.
And it's all storytelling in the end.
Yeah.
And if you're an actor or a musician or a marketer, anyway, you kind of articulated what I had already been thinking. So thank you.
You're welcome. I literally felt like I rambled, so.
It's like it's having a strong personal brand, but I think within that, having that sort of strong personal brand surrounding yourself, it just kind of helps you almost not define who you are, but it kind of, you learn a lot about yourself in that, don't you, really? And then that's, you know, if, as you said, if you're being you and you're being authentic to you, you feel like, oh, like it must be horrible, like almost trying to be a personal brand and aspiring to look like a certain, having, you know, your aesthetics, your personal brand be a certain way, but is it actually really you? And is that convey? Because it's the personal brand that sells a lot of the time. It's like Molly May and Grace Beverly, they've all got very strong personal brands. So yeah, it's a whole other topic that. But yeah, it's very
I
interesting.
feel like just to kind of riff off that before we go on to any more questions or comments, I think that one thing that I have taken away from like, especially working with DJs and musicians, a lot of creative people are very inherently shy, ironically. And, you know, I think the worry is for a lot of people, like when you do put yourself out there, I don't know if you've done like your LinkedIn kind of session week yet, but, you know, I think at least in my cohort, a lot of the trepidation was just like, oh, people are going to think I'm silly. People are going to think this, they think that. And it's like, what I have learned and what we would implement a lot of the time is like, okay, what are your 3 personality pillars that you feel comfortable with sharing? Because, you know, I worked with a DJ who was a parent also. He didn't want to post about that. He didn't want to post about his girlfriend. He didn't want to do that because he didn't want to subject them to the internet. That's fine. But, you know, we had another one who really liked like cryptocurrency and that kind of stuff and like finance. So it's like, okay, how can we implement that into your social media without bleeding into the rest of it? Because it also helps with regards to like people know what to come to you for rather than like a surprise post about your dog when you usually post about baking. I don't know. So if anyone's kind of worrying about sharing themselves, like I think that's a really good little tip. Like just think about 2 to 3 things that represent you that you feel comfortable sharing and know enough to share about or are happy to like learn about, you know, in front of people's eyes. I think that's a really good way to get around that kind of trepidation. And it also means that you can also, if you are a freelancer or if you're working for yourself in some capacity, it means that you can kind of switch off, because it means that, you know, when I'm going to work, I talk about these things. And then when I'm not, I'm myself. And it creates an extension of you, but it also creates a slight barrier to getting your feelings hurt sometimes.
Yeah, all really good points actually. That's so interesting. Catherine, you asked a question about how did you find managing the course around being a mum? I know that we did mention that slightly earlier. Do you feel like we've answered that question, or would you like us to kind of expand on it a little bit?
Yeah, you've kind of answered it. I think I'm a freelancer and I'm doing this course and I'm a mum to 2 boys. And actually my husband has ADHD as well. So I sort of manage I wear lots of different hats in my life. And it kind of seems like you do as well. So it was just quite a nice sort of comparison there.
Yeah, it was. I I remember, and it's fine because I've done the course now, but there was one day in particular when I'd started this new role, and I think this was like my first foray into like proper TikTok friendly editing, that kind of stuff. And what I was editing was, it was involved. It wasn't just put some subtitles on it. But I was doing it at the very same time that we were learning about search engine optimization. Like I was literally editing and watching at the same time, which is not possible. Don't do that. But sometimes it might look like that. Sometimes it might feel crazy, but especially with like having a young person around, he's autistic as well, so it's he likes to like what I like. So when I was working on my project, it would be like, hey, look at this, did you know this? And he might not understand it all, he might not care, but he likes to be around. So it's like if he feels relatively involved, it kind of works out. But sometimes it's just gonna look messy, and that's fine. You know what I mean? But yeah, you're probably doing great, so you have nothing to worry about.
I like that. It can be messy. I think there's such a expectation for everything to be running smoothly all at one time, and like, a lot of people on the course will be probably juggling a few different types of hats, and obviously it is quite an intense course, but it's okay to be a bit like about it, and it feel a little bit messy at times. Like you say, it's but yeah, thank you for that. We have some more questions in the chat. So Maisie has asked, what would you recommend to someone who is brand new to digital marketing and is young, so between 19 and 22 years old? Is there anything that you would suggest for us to do to help get into the industry, i.e. jobs, etc.?
What I would say is, I think you've kind of got your interest at a really, really good time, because I would say it feels like there's a lot of pressure on you, because I feel like, especially with social media, so sorry that I add to this, but you might feel like everything needs to happen right now. I need to be successful right now. That's not the case. I can't remember what the statistic is, but most breakthrough like music artists, their breakthrough song that everybody kind of knows and like, this is the first song from this new artist, they have at least 32 songs that are released before they become famous. So it's a similar kind of thing. What I recommend you do is learn what you like, learn what you're good at, learn what your interests are. And much like doing Basecamp, you can lean into what you want to do for your project. I would say do exactly the same thing. If it looks like I want to, I want to be the person who designs billboards. Okay, take a brand that you like and draw a mock-up of what you would do for this brand. If you want to rebrand something that's established, say you want to do the next Coke advert, or you'd love to work with Coke in the future. Okay, so what does that look like? Spend some time thinking about how you would approach things, put it together. You can add it to your portfolio and just put, concept ideas. And I think that will really help you kind of in your private time. Work-wise, it sounds a bit backwards, but I think anything that's public facing can really help you, because understanding people is marketing. You know what I mean? And I think the more that you interact with different types of people, so this, it could look like working in retail, it could look like working in hospitality, it could look like doing this, like, running focus groups or workshops. The more that you talk to people, the more you learn about people, it will help exponentially, especially if they're people within the people that you want to market to. So, if it is musicians, it's, going to concerts, it's going to gigs, or, being in online spaces where music fans are. But honestly, I think for the most part, yeah, it is that just kind of having a base of of something you can show someone, so that when that job comes around that you want, even though you don't have the experience that you think you need, you've put effort into educating yourself, and they will see that, and that's always something that will come across positively. So I hope that helps.
I'm really glad you've said that, Ella, because that's something that we cover quite a lot in Careers Week, which will be week 6 for everyone. So we will talk a lot about how to keep practicing your skills, define, sort of like, you know, refining what it is maybe that you want to do, the kind of industries that you're interested in, what excites you, and then being able to build yourself a bit of a portfolio. Obviously, you'll have all you have your Basecamp project, but how to expand on that. And you know, for every job application, we recommend to do a piece of work for it, which will keep you practicing your skills, which will build that sort of, as we were saying before, personal brand. If it's a lot of that work is to do with things that you're genuinely interested in and want to do, it goes hand in hand, and that way every application gets stronger. So yeah, we'll kind of cover that in a lot more detail in Careers Week, which is always a really fun week. I'm a bit gutted, Ella, that you said that wasn't your favourite week.
Do you know what it was? I think because we had our graphic design week so early, and that, you know, when you have that natural enthusiasm for something, it's like, oh yeah, I can do this. And then there was like a bit running around the PPC moment, and then I was like, okay, right, Careers Week, because I loved like the whole LinkedIn thing. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm annoying on LinkedIn, so whoever connects with me, get ready for those posts.
I love the videos that you create on your LinkedIn, and you are so good at that. That's, you know, showcasing yourself. It's brilliant. So yeah, for anyone who's looking to practice their skills on LinkedIn, Ella's actually a really great person to take inspiration from. Ooh, we have a hand up. Amy, go for it.
You keep on mentioning that like pay-per-click isn't like your favorite thing to have done. But I'm just wondering, like, with your current role that you've got now, do you feel like you're having to like utilize everything that you learn within what we're doing in our course? Or is it like certain areas that you're like really honing in on, and like you don't necessarily have to do like the pay-per-click stuff? I'm just like a bit worried about obviously upskilling in all of these different areas, having this kind of like well-rounded skill set at the end. Like, is that gonna, like, a certain area is gonna like hold me back and stuff like that?
So what I would say is that people hire for a plethora of reasons. People will hire specifically for people who do PPC. I'm not trying to make you scared for PPC week, I promise everybody. But I find it really depends on who you're working with, because everybody has a different goal in mind, and that's again back to kind of that person to person connection. It's very much like when I sit down with someone before I even touch their social media, I'm like, what do you want? Like, why am I here? And sometimes that involves a bit of PPC and getting lost in you know, meta and ads manager and but sometimes it's very much just like making graphics, making them look cool, making teenagers share their content. So in my current role, luckily, they want to look cool and get young people to talk to them. So it's a lot of like, I'm leaning into like the graphic side and stuff like that. But you know, PPC and like analytics and all that kind of stuff will always be there because it's part of the role. And I'm very much hired to be someone who is an all-encompassing social media everything person. So you will have to interact with those things on occasion. But what I say is, and kind of going back to that kind of like thinking about who you want to work with and who your audience is and working towards that, I will never advertise myself as a PPC or, you know, SEO expert, because I'm not, and I have no interest in it. Not no interested, but you know, if you're going to hire me to do that, I hope you like when things don't work correctly, because like that's not, you know, what I'm interested in. But if you want to, you know, connect with people or create a viral video or just be silly on the internet and be, you know, authentic while you're trying to promote yourself, then, you know, that's what I can help you with. So don't think it's going to hold you back if you're worried about it, or if it's not an area that you're comfortable in at present. Because I think, you know, actually in the graphic design week, in my cohort, there are a lot of people who were like, I'm not artistic, I don't understand what looks nice, I don't know how to do it. And it was quite, I think, intense for them. But you know, those are the people who are hired to be the PPC experts, and like that's absolutely fine. There's like there's space for those things. It's always important to brush up on things, but don't think it's going to hold you back, because yeah, there's space.
Amazing, thank you.
Speaking of graphic design, I'm curious, Ella, how you found your experience previously on what you learned on the course. How has that sort of changed throughout time? Like, has graphic design been something that you've had to be constantly learning about, or and you learn a lot on the go? Like, how's the graphic design landscape changed for you? Like, for example, are you using new tools quite frequently? Like, are you having to constantly keep yourself up to date with it?
Yes and no. Again, I think when I get hired to do social media management, I think a lot of it is just kind of like the content creation and like mainly the posting. But like with regards to like actually making, you know, graphics and editing pictures and that kind of stuff, again, usually it's just working with the people specifically, being like, what do you actually want from this situation? What do you want it to come across like? And then from there, if I need to like learn skills or learn different tools, like I'll do it kind of on the go. Because especially with like music marketing, there's a well, especially with DJ specifically, there's like a want and a need for things to look organic. So it's very much like they want things that are like filmed in one shot from the back of the room from somebody's phone. So there's not too much like graphic design involved with that. But when I was doing stuff for the agency itself, you know, those are the things that it's like when you're scrolling on your explore page, what's going to make you click on this reel, what's going to make you click on this post. So that was, I think those were the main learning curves, because I think why I enjoyed the graphic design week so much was, you know, I got to make things look pretty and fun and cute and how I like them. But when you're doing graphic design for a purpose, which is to get attention, you have to think in a slightly different way. So sometimes it's very much just like looking at what other people are doing and trying to adapt it to how you're doing. And sometimes that does involve like trends that that are kind of hard to replicate if you're not a graphic designer. But I think most things on social media, like you can find a way to replicate them simply, or you can, you know, it's a quick Google, but there is learning as you go. But you know, luckily for musicians, unless I'm like designing a poster or, you know, like a cover for something, it's not too heavy on it. But so I get to be a bit free with that. But I think it's always good to kind of just see what new things are out there, and to, if you know, if it's a low pressure post, why don't you try something new? You know, sometimes.
No, that's good to know. And I've never thought about that really. I think I always assumed that graphic design was probably going to be quite consistent throughout lots of different industries, but actually, like you say, maybe say for example, the music industry isn't so graphic design heavy. But then there might be some industries that are really graphic design heavy. So I guess it's good for anyone who's on the course who is particularly interested in graphic design to figure out what industries are that use a lot of graphic design heavily, and then what industries then off of that list would they be interested in. So I think, you know, in terms of like, okay, well, I like graphic design, but I don't know what direction to go in, maybe doing a bit of research on what industries would be the easiest or have most opportunities for that. There's a comment actually about your project that you worked on when you were on Basecamp. Would you mind just giving us a quick sort of overview about what actually was your project?
Yeah. So I did a rebrand. My partner is in a band, and they've been a band for a while, and like it's like out of uni. But he is the only like original member now. So it kind of got to the point where the music's slightly different, and you know, the members are all different. So they're like, we're doing a rebrand. They changed their name, and I was like, I'm gonna do a social media strategy for you, like a rebrand everything, because they are, you know, all men in their 30s. They don't care about it very much. they're all just like, I'll post whenever. And I'm like, that's so fine. But let's just kind of make a framework for you. So I did a visual rebrand, I did a content calendar for them, and I came up with like content pillars and ideas. I really enjoyed doing it because they're, you know, as a group, they're not very, like I was saying, they don't really care. They just want to be silly, play music, and you know, just have fun. I kind of had free reign with it, and also it wasn't, I wasn't making it to give to them specifically, but it was like, if you want to use it, you know, it's there. But yeah, again, I loved the whole graphic design element of it, like getting the colors in and like taking like the visual cues, because you know, I would say their USP is that there's heavy rock elements in what they play, but there's a heavy R&B element in what they play as well. They say that they're a band for fans of Justin Timberlake and System of a Down, if you know who they are. And I think when people hear that, they're like, what does that doesn't make any sense. And I think that those are the spaces that magic happens. And I think things like that can come across really, really well on social media. So, you know, I was creating like AI images like that were kind of like, oh, it's a grand hall, but they're all in sweats and like there's graffiti everywhere because, you know, it doesn't make any sense. Or that they're in very posh clothes, but they're like in a fast food restaurant, like stuff like that. The contrast, I really enjoyed playing with that. And then, you know, content wise, it was very much just, you know, them being silly, them being who they are, basically. I did a marketing funnel for them specifically, which kind of involved what content could look like for them, again, specifically, because they're not going to spend time doing TikTok dances. Nobody wants to do TikTok dances. They especially don't want to do TikTok dances. So I think that's where I started kind of gaining the skill of like, okay, this is my client. They need to advertise their music. What are they going to do? So for them, I kind of thought of a bunch of like low effort content, low effort kind of concept ideas, and like a color palette that is exciting, but also quite I don't know, it could be serious enough. It kind of looks like a you know, I use a bit of neon colors, but a lot of muted colors as well. And yeah, I like redrew their logo, made a few graphics. I feel like I'm not selling it. It's on my LinkedIn. If you go on, I can share it here, or you can share it like later on. Joanna, I might send it to you because it's like it's open to view on Canva. So if you want to look at it, you can.
What percentage did you get up to? I can't remember what you.
I want to say 90, but maybe I'm giving myself a few extra points.
Yeah, no, if you're happy for us to share that, I will. Yeah. Your LinkedIn's already in the chat, but I'll put your find a project in there as well. It's great for people to have a look at for inspiration, and obviously if it's got a really high score as well, which I'm sure it has. So it's good.
Maybe it can be like, I only learned recently that because of Grace Beverly, actually, that if you graduate from Oxford, they bring you back the next year to give you like an honorary master's degree. So maybe that's what it is. If I come back to Basecamp, I now I've got 100% on my project. Remark.
That would be great. Imagine 100% Basecampers get 100% on their final projects. That's the kind of figures that we want. I'm sure everyone would agree. We've got 4 minutes left, so I'm just scanning the chat to see if we've got any last minute questions, and there is one from Charlotte, and we have kind of briefly touched on it in terms of graphic design, but how do you keep up to date with new social trends and skills, etc., and how did you best learn new things away from Basecamp?
Again, I think my baptism of fire, you know, going straight into DJ marketing and that kind of stuff, that really helped. And they kind of, it was quite synchronous, in, you know, that I was doing digital marketing course and basically using it the same day for my job. So I think with regards to keeping up to trends, you kind of have to make the time for it. And this is where I have to be quite strict for myself, because I love a doom scroll on TikTok. but sometimes I'll be scrolling to relax, but then it'll be like, oh, there's a video. But you don't want to get sucked into work when you're trying to relax. So the best way that I have kind of worked it out is that when you start noticing a trend, you can loosely think about, okay, how could I make this relevant for said client? And once you've had kind of an idea, or even if there's no idea, just save it into a folder specifically for them. So on Instagram, I've got like, I had so the club I was looking after was Club Chinois. So like if there was something for a club, I could be like, okay, save it. Oh, this is really good for chosen status, I'll save it. Like that's literally what then you, well, basically then you have like a little pool of ideas, and you don't have to think too hard while you're trying to relax. But when you are on work mode, then you can scroll through and be like, okay, why is this trending? What's it trying to convey? What's the point of it? How can I make it relevant? And I would say that's honestly the best way to stay up to date. Also, there's a few like digital marketing newsletters that you can sign up for. One of them is, what's it called? I think it's called like Do We Have Your Attention, but like it's called like ATTN. They do like a daily like mail out of just kind of like what's trending and how you can use it, and they like even link like the CapCut like template that you can use. So I would say like newsletters are a really good place, but also just like observing, and also having a team that can approve things quickly, because I have seen a few people putting rat summer things out and I'm like, it's October, everybody, we can't be doing that. But yeah, if you work for yourself, yeah, just making sure that you get approval quickly. That would be my main thing. Yeah.
It's Brat Halloween now.
Oh, of course. You see that green? I can see that. But then you'd
Yeah,
have to go
Brat
through the whole
Halloween.
approval process again.
It'll be Brat Christmas.
Yeah.
The week after.
Brat
They've already
20.
got the Christmas decorations up outside the office, and I am well happy about it, to be fair.
This is what I want.
Yeah, I think marketing like this time of year is just, oh my gosh, it goes massive, doesn't it?
It's my favorite. Halloween's my favorite.
In the Southern Hemisphere soon. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess Southern Hemisphere, it's kind of it's always Brat summer somewhere.
Yeah. Now see, now that's, we need to talk to Charlie XCX team.
Lovely. All right then. Well, thank you very much for that, Ella. Thank you for all the questions that we've had. There were some brilliant questions there. Thank you for your amazing answers as well. Anna's just put a comment. I love your energy and positivity. Thank you for sharing your story. Which was really nice. So mentors.
Yes, great. Thanks, Ella. See you later. It was absolutely lovely to see you again. I hope you're getting on all right. Loved your chat.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day too. Day 2? Yes.
It is indeed. Yeah.
Bye.
Cheers, Ella. Take care. Bye. Oh, thank you so much, Joanna, for organising that. That was lovely. It was really nice to see her back actually, and like she's getting on with so much.
Yeah, she's so proactive, and
yeah.
At the comment just then, she's very positive and she's got a great outlook on life, and I think that's, in such a busy market, it's that positivity is what's going to pull you through and get you those opportunities. So yeah, she's a great inspo, and she's brilliant on LinkedIn. So I'll share her final project, I'll share her LinkedIn again, and then if you want to go and explore, have a get some inspiration, yeah, she's a good one.
Perfect.
Nice.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Joanna.
much for that, Joanna.
Now
I'm going to stop recording, and then shall we go